Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my spoiler, I was going to say non-spoiler, but this is my spoiler-filled review of The Batman. Now, my non-spoiler review is up here somewhere. Up there, maybe. I don't know where it is, somewhere. I've linked it above, and I recorded that late last night. There was still a relatively high amount of energy in that video. But I'm awake now. Let's talk spoilers. I've sat on it for a little while, thinking about it. I did my workout this morning thinking about it. Did my cardio this morning thinking about it. And I still love this film. I still really, really love this film. Now, in my non-spoiler review, I just doted on it. And this is pretty much the same. But I want to go into a little bit more detail. I want to talk about some of the Easter eggs of past or future encounters with wider Batman villains. Because there definitely was some Easter eggs in there, which was very interesting. I want to talk about, of course, that closing sequence with, well, this is a spoiler review, the Joker. There was teasers of Bane and Venom. Oh, God, there's some teasers. There was a hint at Hush. There's some serious teasers in this film, but very expertly put in there in blink and you'll miss it moments. Obviously not Joker, that was pretty obvious. But the Venom, Bane, yeah, you'd have to be, you know, a fan of the comics to know what was going on there. But it was definitely Venom. So he's either encountered Bane or not. But let's get into it, right? I really like this film a lot. I really like this film. So what I want to do is just talk about the structure of the film, how it's laid out. Talk about some of the spoilers in terms of, you know, the Riddler's plan and the Riddler's characterization, Catwoman, etc., and then go into the Easter eggs and the sort of hints at the wider narrative and what I think about them. So, we open with, it's basically, you know, it's a year 2 Batman, it's very early on, his Bruce Wayne persona is not there yet, and he's very much a case of, I don't care what happens to me, I don't care what happens to my money, as long as I'm making a difference, that's all that matters. If I don't make a difference, then I'm as good as dead anyway. And I quite like that. Like, obviously this is not a fully established Bruce Wayne, but in his infancy and his sort of infantile approach to this crime fighting situation without realizing he obviously needs the funds to do this, that made sense to me and I liked it. But we're introduced to Bruce Wayne, Batman, via his journals, very Rorschach-esque, and there was even a line of dialogue which I think was not pulled directly from Watchmen, but similar to Watchmen, where he says, you know, this city's a powder keg, and I was like, fairly certain there's a line like that in The Watchmen. I'm fairly certain there is. And I love that. I love the fact that we're introduced to the Batman via one night, which he narrates in his journal, which we see him writing. And part of that scene is the backstory. It's not needless exposition, right? We see it play out. He talks about his approach, you know, making a difference. The light in the sky being a warning, you know, a visual warning. It's not just, you know, a symbol, it's a warning, it's this. People think that he's lurking in the shadows. So when they see the bat symbol in the sky, they drop what they do. Some of them do, some of them don't. And he's got to be very picky about who he chooses to help. And I really liked that. And then we see him obviously approach the Joker gang, which we see in the trailer. When they say, you know, who are you supposed to be? He beats the living shit out of one of them. And then he goes, I'm vengeance. His bat voice was great. Like, honestly, it all worked for me. It all worked for me. And the brutality of this guy. The anger you feel. Well, he clearly feels. It is brutal. And in my non-spoiler review, I likened it to Batman the Animated Series. If you watch Batman the Animated Series, you know, he's not angry, of course, but he does beat the absolutely living S out of people. He really goes for it. And I liked that. I think this worked quite well. Also, the aesthetic of this film, I think, got as close to as possible Batman the Animated Series. There is a certain sequence in I can't remember what the club's called, but Penguin's Club, and then the 44 Below, I think it's called, which is the mob boss den, where Carmine Falcone hangs out. All of that, the aesthetic of that location, very much Batman the Animated Series. They really nailed the set pieces on that. And when I think of Gotham City, that's what I think of. I think of that sort of, you know, it's almost, I can't remember, it's almost like Art Deco-ish, you know? It's that sort of Art Deco steampunk, you know, it's a bit Bioshock, you know? It's that sort of aesthetic, and I think it really works. They nailed it. So we're introduced via journals, and then of course the Riddler starts writing to the Batman. So it seems that the Riddler has started doing these things anyway. But then he begins writing to the Batman. So he sort of started off doing small things, and then he starts doing bigger things. Now, when we're introduced to the Riddler, it's a very good scene. It's a really good scene. Really, really good. He just pops up. We see him scoping out his victim, the mayor, and then he just pops up behind him. He gets in through the skylight, and the mayor doesn't know, he doesn't see him there, and he's just standing there. And you're like, this is really tense. The tension in that scene works because you know what's going to happen. You know, even if you didn't see it in the trailer, you know, the no more lies and the duct tape on the face, you know what's going to happen because it's so painfully obvious. But the tension in that scene is palpable. And he's not skilled. You know, this is not a Riddler that's been doing it for years. You know, this is not a physical man. But he knocks the guy out and then bludgeons him to death. Sort of, not to death. Cuts his thumb off. And there's these sort of jokes-ish throughout, you know, throughout the sort of movie. They're not jokes per se, but they're sort of sick clues that the Riddler gives. So he chops off the mayor's thumb. And as part of the riddle, they needed to find the mayor's car, a specific car. He's leaving these sort of clues and riddles, codes with a cipher attached. And Bruce Wayne, Batman, works out some of them. Alfred helps out on the other, which is good because Alfred did always help Bruce Wayne out on his detective work as well. So I liked that. But when they find the mayor's car, they find his thumb, they find a USB drive, and it's like thumb drive. But it works. It's funny. It's like a grotesque little nod, and it sort of shows the mental state of the Riddler. You know, laying these sort of traps and riddles, and it was very well done. So there's a lot of them running throughout the film, and they work really, really nicely. Actually, they work really nicely. Now the Riddler keeps writing to the Batman, and it's framed as if he knows who the Batman is, and the Batman is really scared that it's going to come out that he knows it's Bruce Wayne. But he doesn't. He was genuinely trying to get Bruce Wayne. He was genuinely trying to kill Bruce Wayne. Riddler does not know who the Batman is. The Riddler, by the end of the film, he does all of his master plan to take down Carmine Falcone, actually, of all people. So the two big mob bosses in Gotham, Falcone and Maroni, are now dead in this universe. Maroni is killed off screen, like, well, not killed off screen, but he's put in prison. I don't know if he is dead. It's a Maroni bust, so I don't think we learn if he's been captured or not. I could be wrong. I need to go watch the film again. But Falcone takes over the operation, and Falcone's actually the rat. Carmine Falcone is actually the big rat of the whole film. He's the guy that will crumble the entire city. The fact that he was working for it, he was working with the DA, the police. Everyone's in his pocket, and it's all just massive corruption. But it works really, really well. But it was interesting that the film sort of handles the two major crime bosses in Gotham and sort of just takes them off the board, so to speak. Because Falcone is killed at the end. And this is all this big master plan from the Riddler. The Waynes are in there as well. Interestingly enough, they do a backstory of Martha Wayne being Martha Arkham before she marries Thomas Wayne, which was an interesting retcon to the sort of universe. It's not a major retcon, but they explain it as the Riddler's plans attached to the Waynes, because Thomas Wayne, when he was running for mayor, there was a journalist that dug into Martha Wayne and Thomas Wayne, to basically spoil his election plans. And they dug into Martha Wayne's back, you know, her history, and she's been in and out of asylums. And obviously, you know, the Arkham family owns Arkham Asylum, etc., etc., which makes sense. And the Waynes are attached to all of this because Thomas Wayne asked Carmine Falcone to sort out the journalist for revealing all these things to stop him from printing all this stuff and ruining his election plans. Carmine Falcone kills the journalist and obviously now has dirt on Thomas Wayne. That's how they're attached. That's the sort of narrative there. But I thought that was an interesting retcon. But the reason, let's get to the point, the reason why the Riddler is actually working, well, writing to the Batman is because by the end of the film when he's captured and and Batman visits the Riddler, he genuinely thought that the Batman was working with him. He genuinely believed the Batman was working with him. He was like, we did it together, you and I. And when he's like, no, you're sick. Like you're sick. You're gonna die in here. You're nothing. You're a nobody. The tears in his face, you know, and he's like, no, 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 screaming and going for it because he's not a physical man. He had to get the Batman to solve the riddles, to do the things, and he thought the Batman was smart enough to know that the Riddler was basically asking him to work with him. Really interesting. But also shows the psychosis of the Riddler, his mental state. It was really, really good. And Paul Dano's great as the Riddler. He's mesmerizing as the character. He fully immerses himself as the role. Like, it's really quite a haunting experience. You know, when he's in costume, when he's out of costume, it's quite the character. It really is. Catwoman is interestingly the daughter of Carmine Falcone. Not like, oh, we're daughter, you know, father and daughter. Not like that. Carmine Falcone banged Maria Kyle, and then thus Selina Kyle was born. That's basically it. Selina Kyle's not a fully fleshed out Catwoman in this. She is literally a waitress. She's working at these clubs, scoping stuff out here and there, but she's not a fully fleshed out Catwoman. She does some burglaries here and there to get money, but she's not the full Catwoman. This movie implies she's going to become the full Catwoman, which I think works really, really well. She was great in that role. They dressed her up in lots of like tight PVC and latex and stuff like that. Looks great. Like, you know, she wasn't fully Catwoman in terms of that, you know, overtly sexualized Catwoman in costume, because she wasn't fully Catwoman. But the sort of sexualization of her out of the Catwoman costume was bang on for what you'd expect Catwoman to be, if that makes sense. You know, she works the outfits that she has, and when she's out of the costume working those outfits, she's still Catwoman. She's performing these physical stunts and beating the living crap out of people, and it works really, really well. And I'm talking about the sort of sexualization of the character, because Catwoman is sexualized. Rightly so. She just is what you expect. So that worked really, really well, I think, for me, personally. And so it all sort of culminates in the Riddler's master plan being to flood the city, wash away, basically kill loads and loads of people, start again. He even has little Riddler acolytes that sort of join him when he's in prison. They join in his plan, you know, outside, which is actually what you see in the trailer, where Batman is beating someone up with a gun and then turns to face the camera. That's not actually, in the film, a superhero shot. He turns to face the camera because it's shot reverse shot. So he faces the camera, then the camera faces who he's looking at. Really well done, actually. Matt Reeves doesn't indulge in these sort of generic superhero shots. It works very, very well. And what I mean by that is, normally in a superhero film, you'd have someone do that, but they would literally just be looking at the camera going, this is a cool shot. But Matt Reeves goes, yeah, it's a cool shot, but it serves a purpose, because he's actually looking down at, you know, another Riddler foe that he's about to jump on. And that takes us to some of our Easter eggs. So the journalist, I think, was called someone Elliot, which is, of course, Hush. And they you know, they write on it, hush money, hush this, hush money. So it's very much hush. So it's a little Easter egg, a tease of hush. They also tease Venom and Bane. So speaking about the very big end sequence, and there's lots of sequences in this film which are just phenomenally massive set pieces. The set pieces are great in this film. It really is a fully immersive experience of Gotham City. It really, really, really is. So this giant set piece at the end is like a Madison Square Garden. It's like Gotham Square Garden sort of thing, where the brand new mayor has just been elected. The Riddler has bombed the sea banks, and it started to flood the entire city. Now, everyone obviously rushes to the Gotham Square Garden for safety. It's part of the plan. Safety, get them there, and that's where Riddler's acolytes are with guns, ready to pick everyone off one by one, and also the brand new mayor, because there's going to be no real change in Gotham. That's Riddler's thoughts. So that's the big final set piece, and then Batman obviously swoops in, saving the day, and, you know, saving the day, so to speak. But in fighting off some of these Riddlers, the Riddler acolytes, he gets shot in the chest with a shotgun, and it really hurts him. He's not like bleeding or anything like that, but it really, really hurts him. And then he's hanging down. He's about to get shot in the face with the shotgun. So it's a really brutal film from that perspective. You really feel these hits, both the ones which are delivered to Batman and the hits which Batman delivers to other people. Really, really works. Selina saves him, and she's like, you know, it's okay now, it's okay, calm down, it's okay, it's okay. And you really do feel this sort of tension between the two of them. You know, they want to work together, they want to be partnered, but they can't. They're at two different odds, they're from different worlds, and that is what they should be. But you feel it, you know, you feel that sort of connection between them, and I really liked that. But then Selina, the Riddler acolyte, comes back, grabs Selina, and is ready to stab her. And what do we see Batman do? What does he pull out quickly? Because he's absolutely wrecked right now. He pulls out a green substance that he injects into himself, and then instantly gets up in a fit of rage and beats the living shit out of this Riddler acolyte. And I mean, like, they have to pull him off him. And you can see the concern on everyone's face that he's about to kill this guy. That's Venom. It's a Bane tease. That is Venom. It's not going to be anything else. You know, he's just been shot in the chest with a shotgun. He couldn't get up at all. He had to be saved. And then at that moment, he injects himself with a green liquid. Yeah, it is Venom. Loved it. Loved it. So good to get that tease of Venom in this movie. And anyway, so it all culminates in Batman realizing that he needs to become something more than vengeance. He can't just be vengeance. You know, he is starting to make real change, but it's not the change that he wanted, but change is still coming. And he can't separate people. He needs to bring people together. So he can't be vengeance. He needs to obviously be something better than that. A very, very, you know, solid message throughout the film. Really, really good film. And then, ladies and gents, in Arkham Asylum, we see our new Joker. And it is Barry Keoghan. He's got sort of messy, spiky sort of hair. So you sort of see his silhouette a little bit. You see a little bit of his face and a little bit of the mouth, and it really is messed up. Like, it looks mangled. Like they went full mangled face on this Joker. And he starts talking to the Riddler, because the Riddler is watching all of this play out on the news that the Batman saved the day. And he's like, no, no, no. And he starts talking to him, and he's like, yep, Gotham loves a comeback story. And he does another riddle. The Joker gives the Riddler a riddle. And basically says that they're going to be friends. And he talks about clowns, and you're like, it's the fucking Joker. And it was really good. And then he laughs. The laugh worked for me. I think it could have been a bit, I don't know, like, I think once you know, you couldn't see him laugh. So it's a bit different when you see someone laugh. You connect a little bit more with it. But it did work. Yeah, it really, really did work. So there you go. There is my sort of spoiler review, Easter eggs and teasers. I'm sure there's a lot more Easter eggs in this film. Oh, I have to talk about the Batmobile. The Batmobile's my favourite Batmobile ever. I love this Batmobile. Hints of Christine when it came up. So good. That is a character in and unto itself, which is what the Batmobile should be. It really, really should be. Oh, there is some collateral damage, like Alfred almost dies. Andy Serkis is fine. Jeffrey Wright's fine. Like, everyone's really good in this film. No one's bad. There's nothing bad about this film. So if I haven't spoken about it, like, you know, we're at 20 minutes now. I could just keep talking about this film for ages, right? Literally ages and ages and ages and ages and ages. But it was all really great. The Batmobile is a standout. And that car chase sequence, oh, let's just keep talking. That car chase sequence with the Penguin was absolutely mind-blowing. Like, I'm you know, I'm a car guy, obviously. And that chase scene, I almost busted a nut there and then in the theatre. I almost had messy underwear. It was really good. Seriously, it was really, really good. Penguin's there with money, a body. Batman's there, gets in his car, obviously, like, and all you see, you hear this noise, and the Penguin's standing there in the rain, and he's looking, and then these lights come on, and it's just the revs and the revs and the revs, and it is a really cool car. The flames out the back of the exhaust, the flames out the hood, the side exhausts. It is a monster. This car is an animal in the film, and it really is a character in and unto its own. And the car chase scene really worked. I kept thinking to myself, what car was the Penguin driving? It's a Maserati. Not one that I particularly know of. Maybe they added some like wide arches or something like that. I don't know. But it really worked. Like, I really liked Colin Farrell's Penguin because he took everything in his stride. He just thought everything was a game. Like, it's serious, but it's still a game. He was like, this guy's crazy. And you can see he's not scared. He's just like, wow, this guy is crazy. He's mad. And he's laughing and he's going, wow, you know, I got you. And the only true time that terror hits him is when he knows that he's about to get, like, completely screwed over. But even when he's captured, after the car chase sequence, even after he's captured, he's still making wisecracking jokes. And I'm not like wisecracking jokes, but he's very tongue-in-cheek. You know, he's very much a case of, you know, you guys have got nothing on me. You can't do anything to me. I'm going to mess you up. Like, doesn't matter. It's fine. So I really liked that. Colin Farrell's Penguin was great. The car chase sequence was great. It was all just absolutely great. Really good film. So I couldn't recommend it more. Genuinely couldn't recommend it more. If you've seen it, let me know what you think down below. Let me know some of the other Easter eggs, of course, down below as well. What do you think of Barry Keoghan's Joker? Let me know that down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Thank you all so much, though, ladies and gents. From me to you, cheers. Take care.